Okay, just a couple of things I wanted to show you here, quite interesting things. I'll put the soldering iron on to properly demonstrate. This may actually be nothing new in particular. It may just be that I missed something in the PokeyMAX documentation. Okay, so right here we've got the SIO connector on 600XL, and on several of the data lines here we've got command, data in, data out, proceed, and various signals. And at the bottom here we've got, I think, data in, data out, and command. RX and TX might be the other way around. But in any case, we've got capacitors to ground on all of these lines. So if we look at an XE board here, we've got exactly the same thing, but just the caps are in a different position. We've got ground on the left here. Same data lines, and the caps have been removed. I can't remember whether I took them off or whether they were off when I got it. I think I took them off. Now normally the time you need to remove these capacitors if you want to get high speed SIO, and I think Matthias Reichel, who wrote the best, I think, high speed SIO driver for the Atari, I think he suggested that it was only really necessary normally to remove these caps when you were going for 127 kilobits per second or divisor divisor 0 rather speeds. In most other cases they can just be left in place. Obviously they're smoothing the edges of the signal and slowing the response time. The response time, the signal change needs to be faster when the data rate is higher, of course, and these capacitors can impede the clarity of the change in signal, causing data loss, of course. Now I've got another 600XL. This is the machine that I featured in a video at the weekend. On my own machine, these caps are present and the machine runs divisor 0. I didn't even bother to check that they were there or not, actually, never given a moment's thought. And the machine runs divisor 0 without any problems at all, with an original Pokey or a PokeyMAX board. Now of course this machine has PokeyMAX in it. It's ostensibly an identical machine, but nevertheless last night I noticed when I was testing this thing, I was actually testing the other thing I'm going to show you in this video. I noticed I was getting dropouts on SIO, even at normal speeds like 3 times SIO, which I think is 56 kilobits per second, with aspect and this SIO to PC here, which is completely reliable normally. And I was very puzzled, and at the end of a longish build like this, the last thing you need is another problem arriving. So I slept on it anyway, and it was only today when I thought about these capacitors. And regardless of the fact that an identical machine, mine, doesn't seem to be bothered by these things even when it's got PokeyMAX in, when I tested the XE board here, which has an identical PokeyMAX in it, it did divisor 0, no problem at all. Absolutely no problem. And I could switch these PokeyMAX boards between the two of them with exactly the same core. So it was obviously the machine, something about the machine. Even though this machine will do divisor 0 with this Pokey chip in it. So I'll demonstrate the symptom anyway, how things were working last night. And turn the machine on. So we've got SIO to PC and respect at the other end, and we've got currently 3 times SIO speed, which is 56 kilobits per second. There we go, so we've booted up. I've got files on drive 2, call a directory. Oh, and we've got an SIO framing error straight away. And it's trying. Managed to grab the directory. Let's run uflash, which is what I was doing. You hear it struggling. Device knack. That's a different error number. So I slept on the problem anyway, and I began to wonder if PokeyMAX, the signal levels were just a bit lower than a real Pokey chip, and maybe in certain circumstances, depending on environmental factors and whatnot, these caps could cause a problem even with sort of standard SIO speeds. So I lifted these 3 caps anyway. So I'll lift these again. So this is just command data in and data out. Okay, so let's turn it on. I'm going to go for broke. I've set up respect for divisor 0. No messing about. And this is of course using the high-speed driver built into the Ultimate 1MB firmware. Let's try that directory again. No problem so far. Let's try UFlash. And problem solved. So if you do have PokeyMAX installed in a machine like this, which does have the caps, and everything was working fine before, you weren't particularly bothered about high SIO speeds and such, and you do have any problems, just take the caps out, fixes everything. Now the other thing I wanted to show you, which I'm really pleased with, is the Sophia plugin for Ultimate 1MB. I'll pull the monitor out so you can see a little bit better. There we go. So observant viewers may notice a little slight difference in the layout here, because I've decided to mess with the UI a little bit for reasons which may become apparent. The plugin architecture for this firmware allows you to, as some of you may know, write little 1K modules to support different pieces of hardware. This seemed like a good idea at the time when I designed this, and it's actually been very useful. And although it's not perfect, because ideally what I would like to see, perhaps in a future piece of hardware, is maybe 4 or 8 1K ROM and RAM slots in the firmware, so that you could mix and match different modules just by copying the files on into a binary blob, if you like, and sticking it in the ROM. I think that would be very interesting, and then the firmware could pull each extension and they could work in concert together. I think that would be very good, and then you could say, oh, I want PokeyMAX, I want side 3, and just put them in without having to actually compile the thing, because at the moment, if I want to mix PokeyMAX support with Sophia 2 support, I've got to write a custom plugin which actually combines that functionality. It would be really nice, and I can't even do it at the moment without having some method of relocating stuff, which is going to be a big pain. It would be nice to be able to just lump them together like that. But anyway, I digress. So what we've got here is the first iteration of the Sophia plugin for Ultimate 1MB. So this is all self-contained. The changes to the rest of the user interface are just coming along for a ride. Now the reason that I've changed things here is because there is a callback event which the plugin registers itself for, like a watcher, if you like. So when the user changes, makes a selection in a list item, so when the user actually makes a selection from a list item, the callback is executed. So you can make decisions. You can, maybe if there's a codependency with another setting, you could change that setting in response to another setting changing. For example, if one of these options was dependent on a certain selection being made here, you could react to that in the plugin and grey something out. Now the reason I've had to change things is because this list item was modeless, so every time you hit enter you would cycle through the options. Callback would execute after every one, so you weren't sort of making a selection, confirming that selection. Now the reason I've changed it here is because I wanted the callback to do something very particular here, so I'll show you what it is. So if we now press enter to go into the modal selection, and we choose a different resolution here, we'll choose that one, and we hit enter. Testing resolution, it was rather quick, but it did come up. Use resolution, yes, and then it's going to switch into that resolution permanently and save it in the NVRAM on the Sophia 2. This is very rough, this is very much version 1 stuff. I'll probably have room to put some more options in there as time goes on, but it more or less worked first time when I tried it. Developed it in Altera and then flashed it on the end. It just basically worked, which is exactly what you want. So let's try that again. So we'll go in here, we use the arrow keys up and down. What will we pick? That one. See if it worked. Testing. Yes, it did come up. So yes, we can safely use that resolution. And if you answer no, it just sticks at the resolution that you knew to work previously. So this way you don't lose don't completely lose the signal, which would be inconvenient. I have to thank Candle for suggesting that that it worked that way, that it worked much like you do when you change the resolution on a PC or you create a custom resolution. It presents the display to you, and if the screen went black, then you know not to switch into that resolution because it doesn't work. So that was a really good suggestion, so thanks to Candle for that suggestion, very good. And obviously there's various other things that you can change here. The V-gate, high-res bicolor, that allows two distinct colors rather than just luminance in high-res mode or graphics 0 mode. So yeah, I just wanted to quickly share that with you. I think it's pretty cool actually. I just think it's a lot of fun. I think it's very, very cool to watch that happening. It'll be a little while before this gets released because there's lots of other changes I want to make to the base firmware actually. It would be kind of nice if I could put this on the user's machine when it's sent back, now that it works fine. So if I can get something ready in the next few days that I'm at least comfortable putting on somebody's machine, I'll do that for him. I'm going to have to get one of these Sophia 2s, I'm afraid. They are just, this whole interaction thing, I find it a lot of fun. Very rewarding seeing this work yesterday. Just no fuss, no muss, it works exactly the way it's described in the manual. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. It was just a quick one, just to show you a couple of things that are going on. And if you liked it, give it a thumbs up, and do subscribe if you'd like to see more videos on little interesting things like this. And thank you very, very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.